In the last few hours, armed men in fatigues flying the Russian flag have seized Ukrainian military vehicles and occupied Ukrainian government buildings in the eastern part of the country. In Donetsk, pro-Russian groups have taken control of the city council building. It's the second building to be occupied by people calling for everything from regional powers to outright secession from Ukraine. We're also hearing that pro-Russia separatists have confronted tanks in the eastern city of Kramatorsk. On Tuesday, Ukrainian government forces took back control of an airbase there from Russian separatists. It's part of a wider offensive against pro-Russia gunmen across the region. And in Slavyansk, soldiers claiming allegiance to Moscow have taken over tanks from Ukrainian forces. We have correspondents in the city and will be going live there for more details in just a moment. But first, a quick look at where those cities are on the map. Now, they're all part of the region bordering Russia, as you can see, and our teams are on the ground monitoring the situation. Hoda Abdelhamid will be joining us in just a few minutes from Slavyansk to tell us more about the situation there. Across the east, there are calls, as you know, for more support from Moscow, but there are also pledges of allegiance to Kiev. The region is divided, as we can see now in Hoda Abdelhamid's report from Lugansk.
They are uniformed and well-equipped. They were at the forefront of a building seizure in Kramatorsk and the taking of an airfield in Slavyansk. This prompted the mayor of the town to draw parallels with the Russian takeover of Crimea. On national TV, she said,
"The city hall is seized by them at the moment, and it's true that the men in green are there now. They don't hide that they came from Crimea and Russia."
Moscow has denied it has any involvement on the ground in eastern Ukraine. But these men don't hide their allegiance. That has people here questioning their motives.
Yes, I'm really scared about it. I think that they can repeat the Crimea scenario. Today I saw the military cars without numbers on it, and from it the people in uniform with guns. If they have weapons, they can use it to injure the people, not just army.
The protesters say they're just demanding their rights as ethnic Russians. Here in Lugansk, the protesters inside the building deny any Russian involvement as of yet. They do say that they were promised military backup if they came under attack. But ask anyone here and they would tell you that if the Russians came, they wouldn't be seen as foreigners.
Нам не казак, не русский, а россиянин.
This group of Cossacks say they see eastern Ukraine as Russian land. They are an ethnic group originally from southern Russia.
На данный момент помощь заключается в том, что ребята звонят.
We are Russians but not citizens. So far we have only received moral support. Our friends from Russia call us and say they are praying for us.
Cossacks were also patrolling alongside Russian troops in Crimea. But Ukrainian forces in the east are putting up a fight. Lugansk airport has been closed to commercial traffic and security has been beefed up. Officials here all too aware that the Crimean airport was one of the first places to come under Russian control. Hoda Abdelhamid, Al Jazeera, Lugansk.
And Hoda has traveled from Luhansk to Slavyansk, where she now joins us from live. Hoda, tell us about what you've seen in Slavyansk since you arrived there.
Well, I'm here in the city center of Slavyansk. The police building that was seized a few days ago is just a few hundred meters behind me in this direction, and then there's this local council on the right side of the square. Now, you have all these men that were described in that package that are here standing around. They have sort of a perimeter, and they have a few armored personnel carriers that carry the Russian flag. Now, we spoke to some of these men. We asked them where they were from, and they said they were Russian ethnic, but Ukrainian citizens. Now, we also asked and investigated a bit about their accent, and anyone we spoke to said they definitely had they didn't have the Russian accent if you came from proper Russia. I have to also say there's a big difference between how they look and the men we saw in Crimea a few weeks ago. Their uniforms are quite mismatched. Some of them are wearing trainers rather than and military boots. Their equipment seems quite old and idle. One of them was actually carrying a hunting rifle. They describe themselves as self-defense units who are here to defend their cities and their area from what they call the junta in Kiev.
Okay, and the Ukrainians, Hoda, are saying that 2 of their soldiers have been kidnapped in Lugansk, where you are. What are you hearing about that?
Well, we spoke to the pro-Russian protesters that are inside that security building in Lugansk for now more than 10 days. They deny that that has happened. They say that actually they were still waiting to hear back from the government. If you recall, a few days ago, there was a delegation from Kiev that had made it to that building. They were holding negotiations, and the men had put forward a list of demands. Obviously, on top of that list was the demand to have a federal system here in Ukraine. They were also making sure that they will get guarantees that absolutely everyone in that building will will be given amnesty. They say that so far it's just talks from the acting president, and they want to see that turned into a decree. And then they had another, maybe more problematic request, is that they want to form their own Southeast Army, as they call it. They say that at the moment, at least, that would be a unit within the Ukrainian army, and that unit will however have local command and be quite independent from Kiev. But they haven't heard yet, and they say that today is the deadline, so they doubt that actually that happened because they say it will put them in a more compromised position.
Hoda, thank you very much for that update from Luhansk.